Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and to this latest episode of Depression Help. I hope that you're all at least okay, if not good or better. If you're not, then hang in there. Say a bit more about that at the end of the video. So I thought something good to talk about today would be alcohol. I'm kind of picking the easiest topics now, to be honest, from my list. I think I'll probably delve into the more difficult ones like suicide and things like that. Probably when I'm off in January and I'm away. I'm planning on continuing to do a weekly episode while I'm in Thailand. I'm planning on being there all of January. And basically work right through the year is the kind of latest thing I kind of need to do, or feel I need to do. And then take the quietest month off. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah, probably that'll be a better time, because I probably need to actually spend a bit of time thinking and reflecting and to come up with something good. Obviously very, very important topics. So yeah, but alcohol, that's the kind of easy one to talk off the top of my head. I think that I think alcohol is neutral. I think a lot of things are neutral, which I'll talk about different things I think are neutral in different episodes. But I think alcohol is neutral. So I don't think alcohol is either good or bad. And I think that alcohol can have some positive benefits. From a health point of view, again, one year they're saying, alcohol is bad for you. Another year they're saying alcohol moderation is good for you. We all know that too much alcohol is bad for us. That's a given. Don't need to be a medical professional to state that. Is a moderate amount of alcohol good for you? It seems to vary in opinion. I remember a while ago, probably years ago, they were saying a glass of red wine is good for you or whatever. So but we all know that, my grandpa was a wise old man, and he always used to say everything in moderation. And I think that applies to a lot of things. And I think that alcohol in moderation for most people can be okay. Personally, I rarely ever drink these days. And I don't need to drink. I don't need to drink to have a good time. I'm regularly in pubs or clubs around drunk people, entertaining them. I don't need to be drunk to sing. I sing all the time. I've sung more times sober, hundreds more times sober than I've ever sung after a few drinks. I think for some people, the more drunk they get, the better they think they sound. But if it's karaoke, that's fine, because it's just about the fun. It's not about being a brilliant singer. It's about doing your best to have a shot at sounding like somebody who is a brilliant singer. So I think there's definitely peer pressure around drinking still. Possibly more so in guys, but probably also in women. Personally, at this point in my life, I have zero issue with going out. And I never drink when I'm playing. The only times that I've drank when I'm playing would be like Hogmanay. One of the venues that I played in for about 7 years, they used to get me a bottle of champagne on a Hogmanay, and I used to enjoy that. And it was nice that they appreciated me enough to give me a bottle of champagne, because they knew I liked champagne. And I still do, just don't drink much of it these days. I can't afford it. But yeah, basically, in general, so I don't drink when I'm playing, and I would have no problem. I don't go out often, but I would have no problem in going out and drinking alcohol-free beer all night. I like alcohol-free beer. Most pubs are switched on enough now that they have alcohol-free beer. For years, if I was just going out for a beer, I would always just have, like meeting somebody for one, I'd always just have alcohol-free because I was driving, and I I just don't see the point in even having one these days. So I would say there's definitely been times in my history of drinking when I've drank my feelings, and I don't think that's a good thing to do, and I think that's probably something that other people with depression are either doing or are vulnerable to doing or tempted to do. My background, I was like a super conservative Christian from when I was about 18 to 25, so didn't believe in even getting tipsy, believed in being celibate, didn't think it was right to swear, just really good conservative Christian, obviously not perfect, but really serious conservative Christian. So if I kind of felt as though I drank a little bit too much, you know, you're on work nights out or whatever, you know, you peer pressure to have a few drinks, and obviously you're tempted to have a few drinks because it's kind of a normal thing to do. Very easy, you know, when you're drinking rounds, to drink more than you really want to, harder to regulate what you're drinking. What I used to do was just drink by myself like a soft drink when it was my round. That was one way of kind of regulating how much I was drinking and not drinking more than I wanted. But I would punish myself for like 6 months if I even got tipsy. That's how strict I was. So I've never really been a big drinker. When I was in my teens, I had a career job from when I was 19, 18. At the time, I believe I was the youngest car sales exec on the go. At that time, people were usually in their 20s when they got into it. I was very lucky to get into it when I was 18. And having a fast car to drive at night, I think now is where you start parking. Having a fast car to drive at night and being like able to drive was more important to me than being able to drink. So I'd rather be out driving around in my car than not able to drive because I had a drink. So I've never been a big drinker. Always worked weekends. Did sometimes go out. You know, when I was in the car trade. Thursday night in Mardi Gras, only local people will know what that is, because I was off on a Friday. But yeah, never been a big drinker. I think that I think that alcohol can be good to some degree as a social lubricant. It brings people out of their shell a little bit. It does that by lowering their inhibitions. Obviously, if you lower your inhibitions too much, then you could run into trouble. And I think that I deal with a lot of drunk people all the time, and I think that some people are more restrained, maybe hide their true selves better when they're sober, and when they're drunk, they're just like very rude or aggressive or whatever the case may be. So I think it's different for different people. I mean, some people get more aggressive when they drink. Some people get, you know, weepy when they drink. I think if alcohol has a bad effect on you, then there's not really much point in doing it. So for me, I could quite happily, you know, not drink for months. I mean, I've probably had about less than 20 bottles of beer this year. Not counting January. I was in Thailand for 3 weeks in January. But since I came back from Thailand, I've had definitely less than 20 bottles of beer this year. So, and nothing else. And that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I've got beer in the fridge and never really drink it. During the pandemic, I decided that I wasn't going to drink at all, because it didn't really, with the place that I was in, I didn't really trust that I couldn't end up just drinking far too much. And, you know, you didn't have to go anywhere, you didn't have to be anywhere. Obviously I had responsibilities because I was one of the people who, as well as trying to cope with it myself alone, I was also trying to support other people, and that was not easy. so I just decided that I wasn't going to drink at all. So that was probably one of the times I got more into non-alcoholic beer. So, but during the week when I still had a house with a hot tub and stuff, I would always drink non-alcoholic beer if I was in the hot tub myself during the week or whatever. And it'd only be when I had, company over that I would have a few drinks. So yeah, now I could go for as long as I wanted without drinking, and it wouldn't bother me at all. I don't really feel the need to stop drinking completely or become teetotal, although I think for some people that's a good decision, so I'm absolutely not against that. I think that alcohol, like other drugs, you have to be careful with, because you need to be careful that it's not something that controls you rather than you controlling it. And for some people that's more difficult than others. So in terms of drinking your feelings, I think that definitely there's been times where I've kind of drunk as much as I have because I wasn't feeling great, and I kind of wanted to escape from the way I was feeling, or I was feeling really low, and I knew if I drank then it would at least make me feel happier for a while. I think a kind of crucial point out of that is don't ever drink to feel happy. If you need to, if you feel like you need to drink to feel happy, then that's not the way to go about it, and that definitely needs to be addressed, and talk to your doctor about how to do that. I think that a healthy place with alcohol is where you can pick it up or put it down as you want. You can enjoy it, but also enjoy it in moderation. Not to sound like an old fart, but enjoy it in moderation so that you can have the benefits of it without having so much that has a negative impact on your health. So it's important to remember that alcohol is a depressant. So if you're depressed, drinking alcohol is probably not the best idea. When I had the breakdown last year, my psychiatrist asked about my drinking habits, and I said at that point it's like hardly ever drink. And he basically said, I don't want you drinking. Quite clearly, I don't want you drinking at all. So I'm like, okay. He didn't say ever, he just said, I don't want you drinking. I'm like, okay. And to be honest, I felt that bad that I felt like I couldn't afford to do anything that would make me feel worse. Obviously, it would probably temporarily make me feel better, but then it would make me feel probably even worse than it is already. So for me, that was a no-brainer. Just don't drink. So that's what I did. I think that alcohol for some people can be a habit. I don't think that's healthy. I think it's good for alcohol not to be a habit, for it to be a choice. So if you always have to drink when you go somewhere or do something, then I think that's maybe not healthy. I think it should always be a choice that you can pick it up or put it down, and it doesn't bother you that much. For me personally, that's a healthy relationship to alcohol. I think that people with mental illness in general are a lot more vulnerable to becoming alcoholics, and a lot more vulnerable to drinking alcohol as a means to solve a problem, and that's not the best way to solve the problem. So for example, somebody with social anxiety, me when I was younger, might be tempted to drink more because it makes them feel more relaxed. Again, people with depression trying to feel better. I think people drink when they're stressed. I think people can be tempted to drink when they feel distraught. And also, I mean, I think it's wise to heed a doctor's advice on whether or not you should drink on your medication, because with some medications, the label would say, or your doctor would say, that it can affect the effectiveness of the medication, and also it could have unwanted side effects, because you're combining different drugs with each other. I mean, one of the side effects of drinking on antidepressants, some antidepressants, could be that you go completely hyper, and being completely hyper with no inhibitions or less inhibitions could obviously be dangerous. So, yeah, I think that drinking should be a choice, not a need. You shouldn't be anywhere where you go, or anyone you spend time with, that you feel like you have to drink, or you're under pressure to drink. And if you do, then think about changing your habits and your company. I would quite happily go out all night and drink alcohol-free beer if I didn't feel like drinking. And that's the kind of situation where guys would, if they notice, they'd probably be calling you a wuss or whatever. It's like, dad on, keep working on your beer belly. That's literally how I would feel about it. And I think also sometimes girls want you to get drunk, to lower your defenses. It's more kind of common to think of guys trying to get girls drunk, but it happens the other way around as well. So I think only drink in a safe place around safe people, and people that are going to respect how much you want to drink or don't drink, and they're not going to put pressure on you one way or the other. There's definitely like a guy thing that it feels like if you're going out for a drink, you have to drink. If you're going out, you have to drink. And I mean, there could be two guys who both aren't particularly bothered about drinking, but feel like they have to drink because it's like a guy's night out or something. They could both be out drinking and not really bothered about, not really wanting to be drinking. They could both be perhaps happier if they're drinking alcohol-free beer and are fresher the next morning, but don't realise that because they haven't had the conversation. In general, I'm happy not to bother drinking. When I go abroad, like when I'm abroad in January, I'll have a few beers at night if I feel like it. But I'd be more inclined to have a few beers at night abroad, nice and warm, sitting outside. Yeah, but I don't drink spirits anymore. I don't drink shots, anything like that. I think that if you do struggle with depression or your mental health in general, then I think it's about control and moderation, and resisting the temptation to drink your feelings. So the last thing I would do now, if I felt really broken or really hurt or whatever, something along those lines, the last thing I would do is think about drinking. And in fact, I would recognise that would be the last time, the opposite of the time that it'd be good to have a few drinks. So choose the people that you have around you wisely. If it means avoiding certain people or certain places to only drink what you want or to not drink at all, then just make that choice. It's easier to not put yourself in a situation where you can be tempted than put yourself in a situation where you can be tempted and think you're strong enough to resist it. It's just better just not to be in that situation at all. And that goes for a lot of things, you know. I think just don't put yourself in a situation where you can slip up. Just, you know, make the sober, intelligent choice to do what's true for you, being true to what you want. Yeah, so I think that's the gist of it. Hopefully that's helpful to somebody. Just talking about alcohol and what, you know, why I think it can be good, why I can think it's bad, why I think it's not, you know, not necessarily a good idea, or less of a good idea if you suffer from depression because it's a depressant. And these days, I don't think anyone should be given into peer pressure to drink. I think that's kind of stupid, especially these days, especially in younger generations where there's a lot of younger folk who are teetotal now and don't have the kind of experience that slightly older folk had of, you know, when the pubs were all rammed and the clubs were all rammed, and, you know, you went out, you drank, you smoked in the club, blah blah blah. It's a different world now. So obviously some people still do that, but not in the club smoking. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole generation of teetotalers. So these days, I definitely don't think that, you know, I think somebody's stuck in the past now if they think that if you go out, you have to drink. If you go there, you have to drink. If you're with them, you have to drink. You don't. If you don't want to drink, don't drink. Yeah. So I hope that you're doing okay or good or better. If you're not, then hang in there. Don't turn to alcohol. And just remember that you never know what's around the corner, and, you know, it might feel empty saying that to you just now, but it's worth finding out what's around the corner. Been there many times, could have given up. Really glad I didn't. Wouldn't have pictured last year that I'd be where I am this year. And where I am isn't where I want to be yet, but I've been able to come a long way in that time. And yeah, just hang in there. So hope you have a good weekend, and I'm off to do a day gig and then a night gig. So I'll see you in the next episode.